Have you been thinking about moving to Folsom? Because you heard it has amazing schools, beautiful lakes, great neighborhoods, and has been voted the best place to raise a family in California many times over, but you're not sure if there might be some challenges about living there that might make it not the right place for your family? Then this video is for you. I'm gonna go over 10 reasons you might not wanna move to Folsom so you can decide if it's the right fit for your family or not. Now look, full disclaimer, every time I do one of these videos that's focused on the negatives about a community, I get lit up in the comment section about how wrong I am by people who love their community, and I get it. Folsom's an amazing place to live. Like I said, it has been voted one of the best places to raise a family in California many, many times. So if you want a more balanced approach, you can click the videos in the description down below or at the end. I've got videos on the pros and cons of living in Folsom, 10 reasons you should move to Folsom, and several videos comparing Folsom to many of the other local Sacramento suburbs so you can see which one is right for your family. But if you need a quick list of the negatives so you can make sure there's not a deal breaker in Folsom for your family, then this video is for you. Let's get stuck right into number one. Look, reason number one you may not want to move to Folsom is because of high home prices. As of recording this video in the winter of 2025, the median home price in Folsom is just above $800,000. Now look, everything is relative. There are many communities right around it that have much higher home prices, like El Dorado Hills with a median home price of $1 million, or Granite Bay with a median home price of almost $1.2 million. So there are places right around Folsom that cost a lot more, making Folsom look like a relative bargain. But the median home price in the entire state of California, as of recording this video, is $900,000, and less than 15% of families in the state that don't currently own a home can afford a home at that price. Now, with Folsom being within $100,000 striking distance of that price that less than 15% of Californians can afford, that makes it a relatively expensive place to live. Again, it's all about the perspective. If you're coming from the San Francisco Bay Area, where median home prices go from 1.4 to 1.7 million, or LA, where they're around 1.4 million, Folsom is a relative bargain at $800,000. But no matter how you cut it, for most families, $800,000, easy for me to say, is a lot of cheddar, and it may cause you to pause when thinking about moving to Folsom and look at some of the other Sacramento suburbs that might be a little more reasonably priced if your family's on a budget. If you made it this far and you're getting anything at all out of this video, hit the like button, click subscribe, and hit that little bell icon so you don't miss a future video with crucial information to help you with your relocation. Now let's jump right back into our list of 10 reasons you may not want to move to Folsom. Reason number two you may not want to move to Folsom is traffic. Look, like I said, Folsom is a desirable place to live, and as such, it has seen a lot of growth over the last decade and is currently seeing a lot of growth south of Highway 50 in the Folsom Ranch development. So no matter how you slice it, growth equals more people, and more people equals traffic. The main drag that gets you to access most of Folsom is East Bidwell. And come, commute time, coming home from work time, it's pretty rough on East Bidwell. Now that's where all the shopping's going to be. It accesses most of the neighborhoods, most of the schools, and all of that is accessed on and off of East Bidwell, and it makes it a pretty traffic-y situation. Like I said, we'll talk more later about the Folsom Ranch development, but Folsom Ranch is bringing in thousands and thousands, actually tens of thousands of new families into Folsom over the next couple of decades. And so that is just going to exacerbate the traffic in Folsom. So if coming home time traffic on your way back from work is an issue for you where you live and it's something you don't want to be part of your life in your new community, then Folsom might not be the right one for you. You may want to look a little higher up the hill, places like Cameron Park or Placerville, where that kind of traffic really isn't going to be a part of your life. But like I said, it's a great place to live, and as such, lots of people want to live there, and that means traffic. Right about now, you're wondering who I am and why you should listen to me about Folsom or real estate or anything at all, really, and that's a pretty fair question. My name's Rich Curtis with EXP Realty, and I've been selling homes here for over 20 years now, in markets ranging from the Great Recession to the COVID market insanity and everything in between. So when it comes to Folsom real estate, I've got you covered. Now let's jump right back into our list of 10 reasons you may not want to move to Folsom, California. Reason number three you may not want to move to Folsom is new construction, and most notably on the list, the Folsom Ranch subdivision, which we said we'd talk about. Now we're here. Folsom Ranch is bringing in tons of new families and new people into Folsom over the next few decades as they build it out completely. Now they are building several schools in Folsom Ranch, but they're not open yet. And so as those families trickle in, those families are putting pressure on Folsom schools. We'll talk more about the schools and the overcrowding issues in the schools later, but Folsom Ranch is going to continue to have construction for a long time. So if you move into Folsom Ranch, you better be okay with, construction dust and noise and that sort of thing for a lot of years to come. Folsom Ranch is bringing a lot more people, so that's going to mean more traffic and more impacting in the schools, more impacting on the shopping and everything else in Folsom. Now, if you want to live in a place that's expanding and growing and bringing in new families and increasing diversity, and that's all exciting to you, then Folsom Ranch is a positive. Or if you are looking to move into a brand new community that shortly will have a brand new school and have all of those amenities in a great community like Folsom, then Folsom Ranch represents a great opportunity for your family. But if you're looking to move into more of an established place where there's not a lot of growth that's going to happen, where it has about the population it's going to have, and things like traffic and school crowding and things aren't going to get worse over time once you move there, then Folsom might not be the right fit for your family. It is an incredibly desirable place to live. As such, it's going to continue to grow. And with that growth comes growing pains, and that might not be something you want to go through with your family. Reason number 4, you might not want to move to Folsom, and I talk about this one on all my videos, is heat. Look, it's a hot place to live, and I think people coming from especially the Bay Area or LA, which have really moderate maritime climates, don't really understand how hot it actually gets here. I'm talking about triple digits a lot of the summer hot. Folsom is essentially the Central Valley. It's the end of the Central Valley before it starts climbing the mountains into El Dorado County. And so it has the Central Valley temperature profile, which means heat. Now it's got the lakes there so you can go and cool off, but the lakes don't provide the same kind of convective cooling that the river does down in Sacramento with those delta breezes that cool it off at night. Folsom often is going to be a little bit hotter at night even than Sacramento. So look, is it an absolute deal breaker for me? No, I live in Placerville, and Placerville is really hot in the summers as well. But if you don't like hot, dry summers, then Folsom probably isn't the community for your family. Reason number 5 to consider not moving to Folsom is that it's suburbia. Now, look, blaming Folsom for being suburbia is a little bit like blaming a Porsche 911 for not having a big comfy backseat for your kids. You're asking something of the place that it just can't deliver. It is suburbia. It just is what it is. You can't change it. You either have to like it or not move there. But no matter how you slice it, Folsom has grown and expanded in a suburban landscape. So it's mostly strip mall style shopping. It's mostly subdivision style homes. A lot of those subdivisions comes with things like HOAs and Mellorews. It is a suburban landscape. So if you're moving to Folsom, which is just right next to El Dorado County, right next to the foothills, right next to where it gets rural, thinking, hey, this is going to be a little more wide open spaces, a little more rural kind of place, it just isn't that. If you're coming from someplace like South San Jose, this is going to be a very familiar landscape. This is a suburban style place to live. Now, for a lot of you, that's exactly what you're looking for, and this is going to be a pro. And for some of you, you'd rather be in an urban environment or a rural environment, and the suburbs are a no-go. Some people think the suburbs are the best of both worlds, and some people think the suburbs are the worst of both worlds. That's up to you. Those decisions are above my pay grade, but you should know before moving here that this is a very suburban style place to live. Look, if you've made it this far in the video and you still aren't sure whether Folsom's right for you, or you just want some personal advice, because let's face it, there's no blanket advice in real estate that's any good. Real estate is hyper-local and hyper-personal. Then feel free to reach out to me via the contact information on your screen or in the description down below. Like I said, I've been selling homes here for over 20 years now. I've helped hundreds of families just like yours decide where to land, and I'm always happy to help. All right, now let's jump right back into our list of 10 reasons you may not want to move to Folsom, California. Reason number 6 you may not want to move to Folsom, California is it's getting more crowded. Look, like I said, we got Folsom Ranch bringing in more people, but before that, there were all the other subdivisions that have been built out over the last couple of decades. And like I said, Folsom's been voted one of the best places to raise a family in California many times over, and it has a great employment profile and quick access to Sacramento. All of these things mean people flood in here, and people flooding in here means crowding. That means it's just more busy at the shopping malls, more busy at the grocery stores, more busy on the roads, on the streets, in the subdivisions, in the schools. It's just part of the game when you move to a desirable area. But I think it's something people kind of discount. They think, oh, this is a great place to live. Lots of people like to live there. It's going to be awesome. And they move there and they forget that lots of people liking it and lots of people wanting to move there means lots of people live there. And so if you don't want that, if you want a smaller community, a slower pace of life, less overcrowding, then Folsom might not be the right place for your family. Or if you're a curmudgeon like me who'd like to live around a lot less people rather than a lot more people, Folsom is the lot more people type of place to live. So it might just not be the right place for your family. You'll have to decide. All right, we're getting deep into the list now. Reason number 7 you may not want to move to Folsom, California is a lack of nightlife. Look, this is a suburban family-style town. There's not a lot of nightlife on offer. If you want to go to a nice restaurant and sit by the fire table and have a cocktail and wrap it up by 9 o'clock, then this is your jam. But they pretty much pull the curbs in around 9 or 10 o'clock in Folsom, and that's it. It's over. If you're still in the phase of life, not that I ever had this phase of life myself, but if you're still in the phase of life where you want to be going out multiple nights a week, late into the night, listening to live music, dancing, clubbing, that sort of thing, that's just not going to be on offer in Folsom. Now, Sacramento is just 25 to 35 minutes down the road, depending on where you're going, and all of that is on offer in Sacramento. So you can live in the burbs and still enjoy the city lifestyle and the nightlife if you're willing to do a little drive. But if you're looking to live in a community where multiple nights a week there's live music and multiple nights a week there's the opportunity to party away into the wee hours of the morning, then Folsom is not going to be for you. All right, reason number 8 you may not want to move to Folsom is a lack of housing diversity. Sounds like a weird one. Let me explain. Personally, I like unique architecture. I live in a mid-century modern house. Think of an Eichler knockoff type of thing. Or if you're from Sacramento, a String Brothers type of house. I like interesting, unique houses. I like neighborhoods where every house isn't the same. And that's just not really on offer in Folsom. It is in one community right around downtown, Old Town Folsom, Sutter Street. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes. But other than that, the rest of it has been built out in intentional planned unit subdivisions, the kind of place where there are 3 models and 3 different elevations, elevation being what the outside front looks like, and that's it. So every 4 houses, they look the same kind of a deal. And a lot of people are fine with that. It doesn't bother them. They like that kind of home. The thing that's nice about that kind of home is they've been very intentionally designed to work well for families and have big, wide open spaces. Nothing's funky. You can go down to the Home Depot and buy a 5-foot closet organizer for your 5-foot closet and every piece fits. Versus my house, if I buy a 5-foot closet organizer for my 5-foot closet, I have to trim 1.5 inches off of every single piece before I can install it in my 1950s closets. So there are a lot of people that love subdivision homes, that love modern homes, and don't mind that every house in the neighborhood looks the same. If that's you, Folsom's going to work great. But if you're the kind of person who really likes unique architecture, older homes, that sort of thing, then there's really only going to be one neighborhood in Folsom to choose from, and it's very hard to find what you want there. So if you want unique homes, older homes, unique architecture, Folsom might not be the place for you. All right, we're almost at the finish line now, folks. We are at number 9. Reason number 9 you may not want to move to Folsom, California is that the schools are excellent, but enrollment is tight. Like I said, a lot of families have moved to Folsom and they're building out new subdivisions and new homes. They are bringing on 5 or 6 new schools in Folsom Ranch, but they're not all up and running yet. So the people who are moving in now, their kids are having to go over into the other existing schools, and it's causing some real tight enrollment. The schools are excellent. Go on greatschools.org, look up Vista Del Lago, look up Folsom High. These are very desirable schools to have your kids in. But go ahead and look at some of the bulletins and announcements over at Vista Del Lago, where it'll say right on their website, we're not taking any interdistrict transfers anymore, and enrollment is tight. And if enrollment fills up, then your child may be bumped to an overflow school. That's the kind of thing that's happening in Folsom schools right now while it's experiencing some growing pains. So if you are really dead set on getting your kid into one of those schools, that might be a little challenging. And even though you got districted into one of those schools, you may find that enrollment filled up before you got your kid on the list, and now you got bumped to an overflow school, and they might not be in exactly the school you wanted them to be in. Now, when you start shopping for homes, oftentimes people will pick the neighborhoods they're looking in based on the school districts they want their kids in. And a lot of times I'll have people figure out that the neighborhood with the less desirable schools has more desirable homes at more desirable prices than the neighborhood with the most desirable schools, and they'll think about buying in that neighborhood and then pulling an interdistrict transfer and getting their kid into the good schools. That is a pathway I don't recommend trying to pull off in Folsom these days. They say right on their school's websites, they're not going to do it. So if a very specific school and a very specific school district is important to you in your Folsom shopping, this is something you need to consider. Folsom might not get you exactly what you want in this regard. Reason number 10 you might not want to move to Folsom, California is that the lakes in the American River corridor are absolutely jammed with people in the summertime. Now look, having Folsom Lake there for all your motorized boating and all that fun stuff and the big beaches at Granite Beach to play with the kids is amazing. And having Lake Natoma in Folsom where you can do all your non-motorized boating. It's got a 5-mile-an-hour speed limit, so it's great for rowing and kayaking and canoeing and paddleboarding and all of that stuff. They're amazing recreational resources. And you have the American River Trail running through there and all of the 50 miles of Class 1 built out trails that they have in the Folsom trail system. But you got to know there's a lot of people there. And when the sun starts shining and the temperature is great and it's a fun day to be outside, everybody thinks it's a fun day to be outside and everybody pours out. And so those places are really impacted. It's very crowded, hard to find a place to put your blanket down. My family's been going to, the Nimbus Recreation area part of Lake Natoma to go paddleboarding forever. And these days we can hardly ever find a place to put our stuff on the weekends. It's getting pretty jam-packed with people. So even though it does have amazing recreational resources, you do have to learn the times and the places to go where you can carve out your own little space to enjoy the wilderness there, because it is getting pretty hard to do. And it's something you should consider if you're buying there for the recreation. Come on out on a weekend day in the summertime and check it out and make sure it's what you want to get yourself into. All right, that wraps up our discussion of 10 reasons you may not want to move to Folsom, California. And I hope this has helped you decide whether this community is right for your family or not. If there's a deal breaker on this list, maybe it's not right for you. Like I said, I do think Folsom is an amazing place to live, representing some of the very best that Northern California living has to offer. And lots of people agree with me, being that it's been voted one of the best places to raise a family in California, like I've said many times over. So I don't think it's a bad place to live by any means, but I do want to make sure there's not a deal breaker on this list for your family. Now, if you want a little deeper dive or a more balanced approach to this, you can click this video right here for my pros and cons of living in Folsom video, or you can click this video right here for my Folsom versus El Dorado Hills right next door video, or you can click this playlist down here, which is my town versus town playlist, which will have Folsom versus Roseville, Folsom versus Rockland, Folsom versus Sacramento, Folsom versus El Dorado Hills, Folsom versus Placerville, all of those in there, so you can get a good idea of whether there might be another community that is better for you. And if you haven't hit the like button and click subscribe, please do so, because we're also going to have a video with 10 reasons why you should move to Folsom coming out shortly for you. Now, as always, I really appreciate you watching and making it to the end with me, and I'll see you on the next one.